3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Triad of the Force podcast, the podcast from three Puerto Rican friends coming together to do deep dives into Star Wars and other nerd-related media. These are Batch Fridays, where we talk about episode by episode, the Batch Season 2, starting today with episodes 1 and 2, Spoils of War and Ruins of War, which just makes me really miss the Clone Wars, but we'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
Before we get into the episode, we would like to welcome our fantastic guest for today, Rayven from Broaxium. Welcome to the Triad.
Hey, Rayven.
Hello. Thank you for
How's it
having
going?
me.
We're so happy we finally were scheduled. I know that I've been reaching out to you for a couple times before. I don't even know what at this point, because I know it's been a couple shows now that's just like have been able to figure out scheduling, but finally you're here and it's happening, and we're very happy to have you for the first episode. And what better way to start the year than to start, talk about Star Wars so early into the year.
I know.
I'm so here for it.
Before we get into all that junk, happy holidays, by the way. Happy New Year. Hope it's being a better.
Feliz Dia de los
2023.
Reyes.
True. When this episode comes out, it's gonna be the Epiphany for those who celebrate. We do. But I lost my train of thought. But before we get going to Star Wars and everything, hope your 2023 is better than 2022, at least so far. But we haven't talked to you before, so why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Like, who is Rayven? Tell us a little bit about who you are, especially now, right? In January, we just had the New Year's Eve and New Year's parties. Like, we've been introspective, we've had our resolutions, we've been discovering ourselves. So tell us a little bit about what you've learned about yourself.
Oh my goodness. I've learned that I can actually bite my tongue a lot better than I thought. I'm enjoying.
Well, you don't have to do that here.
No, not here. But just in the social media world that we have, I've pretty much taken myself out of that, except for Instagram, which is a little less stuff.
Angry.
Yeah. And I just find that I'm so much less stressed now with that we have this, drama-free diet, as I've been calling it. I hope 2023 is better. I hope it's better for absolutely everybody. But for me, I'm just really looking forward to continuing that and trying to, share it with other people. Like, hey, it's so much easier not to get into things. I mean, disagree, have, constructive arguments and stuff. But can we not make drama where there's in a world where there's already so much drama?
Right.
Oh, look at we got an extra a visit. Yeah. No, but I totally hear what you're saying, because it can be very entertaining, the Twitter sphere. I must admit, because sometimes you kind of like to see the train wrecks and the shit shows, but other times it's just exhausting. It's just like, why, right? Why are we debating, especially among people that for the most part agree on most everything, but then they choose to, it's like they have nothing else going on in their life, so they must create drama out of things that aren't really drama. It's like this whole, I don't know if you heard, because I know you're not on Twitter, but I don't know if you heard about the whole debacle with Andor, and Andor is better than everything else, and people being like, why are you pitting Star Wars shows against Star Wars shows? Can't we just
That's how I feel.
All of them?
Yeah. And I mean, I'm a Star Wars oldie. I was born in the same year that Star Wars was. And so, I grew up on, the original trilogy, but I'm not one of those people that hates the prequels or hates the sequels. I just don't do that. If it's not for me, it's not for me. But I see other people finding so much joy in stuff that didn't move me. And so in that case, I love it for that, because they love it. But I grew up on Luke Skywalker and that utter belief in the best of everyone and everything. And that's what I try to see in the Star Wars universe, both in the shows, but also in the community. And, you just keep connecting yourself with those kind of people. I'm here to have a knockdown, drag out fight with you about X, Y, and Z, so long as we can still have a beer afterward.
Right. You should be able, exactly. It should be able to have fun fights. Because I know, I have done that in the past. It's like, let's argue about this, but it's at the end of the day, it's supposed to,
still be fun. Yeah.
enjoy. It's Star Wars and all media, right? It's about enjoying that.
Right.
That's why we're fans. But the minute it turns into being something other than that, then maybe it's time to reevaluate our priorities and how we engage with each other, right? But you were saying, right, that you're from an original trilogy kid. So tell us a little bit about that Star Wars journey, right? Like how you've come to like be the Star Wars fan that you are today. Because I know for some people they've been consistently a fan all throughout their lives. Some people have kind of have ebbs and flows where they kind of got away from it and then come back. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that, and then how you became like a podcaster and are more engaged in fandom instead of just being like a normie fan, as we lovingly call everyone that does not podcast.
Well, Star Wars is a family thing for me. My parents both loved it, for all of the reasons that Star Wars can be loved, for the messages that it sends, for the, in my family growing up as the only person of color in the room, and in my schools and my neighborhoods, the only person of color, they liked the inclusion of different types of people, different colored people, different shaped people, different, and so they were really, really into it, just in the fact that it seemed more realistic in that way, that everybody wasn't the same, didn't speak the same languages, and so on and so forth. So it's definitely a family thing for me. My stepdad is very much a Luke Skywalker type, down to the blonde hair and blue eyes. So I think that that's a big part of why I'm a Luke girl. Also the Chanel boots, but that's a whole nother issue. We all know about the boots, okay? That's just the way it is. But I've always been a big fan. I've always been a vocal fan, but I've always been one that kind of celebrates my fandom depending on who I'm with. Now that I'm into this community where I'm doing podcasts and doing streams, I get a little bit deeper into it with that kind of stuff. But I'd say that more often than not, I keep my real deep, uber fandom to like outside groups when I'm talking with my friends, simply because, as we were talking about previously, I'm just not into the drama. And it's like, I don't think you can handle my argument without taking it personally. So therefore,
and then picking a fight or something.
Yeah, so it's like, I'd rather just be like, yeah, it was fine.
Right.
And
that's it. Like,
be charitable. Be charitable.
Because if you want me to scream and yell for 10 hours about Star Wars, believe me, I can find many, many things to scream and yell about. But
that sounds like an interesting live stream that could happen.
Oh goodness. I would shudder for the audience, but if they were drinking, it would be great.
Exactly. We make it a fundraiser, so it's the cost.
You could make a drinking game out of me complaining about Star Wars, because it would keep coming back to, you want plot holes? Go look in the parking lot. Tell me how many you see. Okay, so that's just me. It's just me. But yeah, I've always been a pretty vocal fan. I'm always been one where, seeing me in a Star Wars t-shirt or whatever was not unusual. I had a white German Shepherd named Stormtrooper.
Love it.
Star Wars is a big part of my life. And of course, now I have a giant Alaskan Malamute, who is what Wookiees are meant to be like. And it's true, they talk just like that. and they give those great hugs too. That's not just Peter, that's a truth.
I can't imagine. Oh, okay. So, someone wants to go up. No, that's wonderful. So going on, we're almost at Bad Batch territory, but before we we take the plunge, I always like to see people's temperature, right? Like how they're feeling going into a show. Obviously, this is the second season of the show. What were your feelings on season 1 of the Bad Batch?
Well, it's actually kind of interesting, because I'm not an animated Star Wars person. I still haven't seen all of Rebels and all of Clone Wars, because I'm just not animated, just doesn't really, get my attention, as it were. I can watch it. I don't watch it and go, my God, someone get me a barf bag. It's just, it's not my thing,
Right.
But I tune into it now because I'm talking about it. So I want to know what's going on. And I actually really enjoyed the first season, which I was surprised by, because like I said, I'm not, generally into the animated stuff. These first 2 episodes, I mean, at the end of the first episode, I was like ready to throw something, until until I realized the second episode was there, and I was like, okay,
Yeah.
all right, you can't leave me in that kind of suspense. Like, no, I don't
illegal
do
cliffhanger. Yeah,
so, no, you just can't do that. So, but I really enjoyed the first season, and this second season has been fun. And I'm totally there for Dark and Broody.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So to an extent, you were I'm not gonna use the word excited, but you were expectant of season 2 of Bad Batch.
I was.
Okay.
I was looking forward to it, honestly. I was looking forward to it a lot more than I thought.
Okay, that's fun. Okay, that's a good way to start everything. Nani, how about you? What were you were you excited for Bad Batch season 2? Were you lukewarm? Like where were you at before season 2 started?
I was actually lukewarm about season 1. I'm like you, Rayven. I'm a big anime fan, so that type of animation I do enjoy. But the Clone Wars, I didn't even start watching until we did the podcast, and then ended up falling in love with. But it took me years and years and years to watch it. So by the time I finished, I loved the Clone Wars. But then it's like, oh, but a whole show just based on the Bad Batch. It's like I'm not like I don't care that much. But I ended up really enjoying season 1, so I was really excited for season 2. So
yeah.
Interesting, because I kind of feel this for season 1. I was also skeptic, but then again, I'm so cynical about these things, and then it always.
You thought you weren't even gonna like Andor, so.
Right. With Andor, I'm just like, why the hell do we need this show? We already have Rogue One, perfect story, blah blah blah. And then it comes around, it's just like goes to show how much I know. I know nothing. I'm basically the Jon Snow here when it comes to figuring out what shows are gonna be good or not. But Bad Batch, actually, I'm trying really, really hard to remember if I genuinely really loved it or if I was just okay with it. I know, and which is weird because we covered it, right? So we covered all 16 episodes, and for some reason, I'm having like a vacuum in my mind of remembering and reminiscing and being like, did I love the show? And like, I know I enjoyed it, but I don't know like where how warm or cold I am towards
what your emotional attachment to it was.
Especially with season 2 coming up, because I was excited for season 2 because I'm always excited for new Star Wars, new content, especially now that we live in the best era for Lucasfilm. Like I don't know, like all these nerds on YouTube that's saying that Star Wars is dead and Lucasfilm is horrible and Kathleen Kennedy has to retire.
All go home.
They can all go home and go touch some grass because this is amazing. Like Willow is incredible. Obviously, all the Star Wars content we're getting, it's the best time. Instead of like having a sporadic book like we did, like maybe like in the 90s or like in between
or like waiting in between, waiting in between Jedi and
you had to wait.
Pain and horror we went through. Oh my god.
I can only imagine because I went through it on the prequels. I can only imagine, during the OG times. Before
being born during the original trilogy and having to wait till college till the other films come out. The prequels.
Now you have to wait.
That was actual torture.
How much did we have to wait between Andor and Bad Batch? Nothing. Couple weeks. Weeks.
Whereas I had to wait 3 years between just the first 3 movies.
Yep.
And then after that, it was like, and we're done. And it's like, and we really thought they were. So.
Yeah, we really did think that was all we were getting, and there was not going to be another film. I remember when they announced the prequel trilogy, I was like, wait, this is for real? This is actually happening? What?
Yeah.
So,
those were good times, because I remember that's when the internet was being a thing, and I remember I discovered the website Super Shadow. I don't know if you guys ever went into that website, but it was an alleged leaker, and he would like post alleged interviews with George Lucas, and alleged script leaks for the prequel trilogy. And that was my life, man. Like for the prequels, just like reading all those fake leaks. Oh my god. But now we don't even have to wait for actual leaks, because we just get a show every other day, basically. Nowadays.
I don't want leaks, man. I want to be surprised. I want to be surprised.
I don't even like watching the trailers for stuff.
Same. I'm like, I don't want to be here for your predictions.
Don't enable Nani. She's got a job now. I've gotten her to see trailers. Don't enable.
I'm gonna enable everybody just because I'm an enabler.
As long as it's for positive things.
Yes, positive things. Only
Yeah,
for
of course.
positive.
Yes,
it real.
Yes.
But I do like being surprised. So
Yeah.
Fucking A, yeah, I definitely agree. But yeah, season two, like I don't know how I still don't know how I feel about these episodes that we've just seen, which is why I'm excited to have this conversation, because I wanna see like if I can, what I can glean right from your guys' energy, because I feel I need that energy. I don't know if it's like so I'm in a post 2023 New Year lull because I'm still on vacation. Like I'm gonna start working now on Monday. Maybe I'm just dreading that. So like the Star Wars positivity hasn't hit me yet. But so I'm looking forward to. Hopefully, if you guys enjoyed it. Otherwise, I'm screwed. Get some.
I did too.
Good. Get some positive Star Wars energy. So let's just dive right into it. Rayven, you're the guest, so give us your reaction/review of the first 2 episodes of Bad Batch season 2.
I really enjoyed the first 2 episodes, and I really think I enjoyed them even more than when I was watching in season 1, because like I said, I'm not super familiar with the animated characters. So to me, the Bad Batch was a brand new thing. Like I didn't know what they were exactly or where they came from. I didn't know their personalities and whatnot. And we got to learn that through that first season. And Omega's adorable. I mean, come on.
Oh yeah.
Omega's adorable. But for me, the biggest thing that I noticed in watching these is I got the same vibe that I used to get when I would sit at home on days off and watch the A-Team. It feels very similar to that to me, because everybody has their own particular, thing that they do, and you can depend on them, Wrecker, to be a certain way, and you can depend on Tech to be a certain way. And I really kind of like that. I feel like I know these characters now, something I didn't have going into the Bad Batch. And I think that that's different from a lot of other people. But I'm loving seeing how their characters work together, how Omega's been somewhat moved into the fold. And I was literally screaming at the screen, like, just teach her to be useful and stop trying to protect her or get rid of her. One of the two. You know what I mean? It's like, if she can't be useful and you can go away knowing she's going to be okay, then you need to not take her with you, which is, I mean, generally speaking, the argument that's being had in the episode. But it's like, she's still so willful and doesn't think before things are done. And that's typical of youth, but I'm old.
They need to be better
and
daddies.
And therefore I'm like, seriously, you guys got to be better daddies. And let me just tell you, sit down and watch The Mandalorian, get you some good lessons on how to be a daddy, and then go back and try again.
I feel that, especially because you got, I mean, how many are, I'm terrible in number. How many dads does she have? 4? That's 4 dads, and they can't make one Mando. Like, come on. I know season 1 of Mando hasn't premiered yet for them, but
Pedro's a high bar,
daddy.
though.
He's the daddy.
High bar.
He's dad and daddy. So
exactly. He's a multi-talented kind of guy.
Yep. It is a high bar.
He's doing a lot of heavy lifting. A lot of stuff heavy lifting. We're definitely excited for March 1st. Before we get distracted with Mando, Nani, how about you? Keep the positivity train going.
I thought it was a really good start. I am also a little bit frustrated like Rayven, because I thought we were starting to get over a little bit the overprotectiveness. Like they're getting a little bit better at it, but it's still like very present, especially with Hunter. Obviously, he's like overprotective, dark and stormy and broody and everything, and we love him. But oh my god, you need to like give your daughter like a break, because she's a badass. Like from the beginning of the episodes, she's kicking ass. And they need to acknowledge that. So the animation continues to be more beautiful. Honestly, that beach scene from the beginning, I was like, take me there now, please.
Right?
Yeah. Well, the crabs, I don't know.
I don't know. The giant crabs were a little.
Those are the 2 crabs that I don't want near me. Like, I'm not gonna elaborate on the other type of crabs, but
no need.
If you're an adult, you understand. So I'm a little concerned with that beach.
After crab extermination, that beach was
right.
Exactly. Big crab boil.
Right.
We could. That'd be. I'm pretty sure Wrecker can pull it off, given some prior planning.
for
Yeah.
sure.
You can make some good fritters out of those too. Oh, anyway.
Yeah. Yes.
But I do
Sorry,
love that
vegan
more and
friends.
more.
Sorry. Sorry, vegan friends. We're sorry.
But
Sorry, vegan friends.
I do love that more and more the daddies like fall into their roles, not
Don't
just
call
like
them daddies,
within
call them dads.
dads.
Mhm.
The term
dads.
daddy has been destroyed. You cannot use daddy anymore.
That is terrible.
Daughter father relationship.
That is terrible. Okay, the
Pedro
fathers,
Pascal has
the
ruined it, yeah.
dads.
And Oscar Isaac.
Not only in their roles within the batch, but as parents to Omega, because
Mm-hmm.
I thought that it was really cool. You know, you already know Hunter's like the overprotective one. Wrecker is more like the brotherly type, and then you know,
he's
Tech
a cool
is
uncle.
and then
Yeah.
Tech is like the educator, and Echo was kind of like more distant and not having that much of a connection with her. But that improved a lot in these two episodes because that relationship with Hunter and Wrecker was very well established in that first season, but we didn't see that much interaction with her, with Tech and Echo. And then we got that because they got separated in this episode. And so you saw more of that and how important all of them are in her life. And all of them have something to teach her to make her, you know, grow up better. And she helps them grow up as well, because technically they're young children as well, because they, you know, grew up. Accelerated.
I think that's the really interesting thing, that she's technically older than them, but she's emotionally
in
young.
the tiny body. Yeah.
Tiny body, young, older but younger. It's like, oh, clones. Come on, what's
growing up together?
What does it mean?
So it's very interesting, and so it was really fun. I remember one of the things I liked from season 1 is that sometimes you get a very like video game feel from it, and they've kept that, but it's still very emotional, and you get a lot of very emotional scenes, and the soundtrack is amazing. So far, I think it's like they're doing really well with those first 2 episodes. I think it can only get better from here.
Agreed.
100% yeah. It will only get better, because I think that's the way that Lucasfilm has operated with most, if not all, of their shows. It's like the first couple of episodes are just like, okay, here's a little bit of setup, and it's gonna be a little bit slow, but then after maybe the 4th or 6th episodes, like bam, here we go. Let's pick up the pace, and it really like blows the doors open on the universe. So I am cognizant of that. However, I did struggle. Not because I thought the episodes were bad. Okay, I'm just gonna put
just
let's be cat out of the bag. I think, and I wasn't saying that because of our companion here, but cat out of the bag. The whole unwhitewash the Bad Batch movement that has been going. I don't know, Rayven, you're familiar with unwhitewash the Bad Batch?
I've heard, but you know, I'm difficult.
That whole movement, I don't know, and I want everyone's opinion on this, because I don't want to invalidate, you know, the things that they're advocating for, because obviously those are things that we've been advocating for as you know, Puerto Rican podcasts, Latinx podcasts, and all those things. There are things that are close to the things that we believe in, but I don't know. It's an anonymous Twitter account that you don't know who they are, and they're the way that they've been portraying their narrative has been problematic for me, especially with the accusatory rhetoric of saying how the creatives at Lucasfilm have been racist and doing these things, and like hurling kind of insults to like all these like people at Lucasfilm that, you know, we've been privileged to talk to a couple of them, and so it's kind of like, well, you know, that like the people, well, we don't know, but we're pretty confident that the people at Lucasfilm are genuine people that want to do right, want to tell good stories, and want to do right by fans, and they're not malicious or malevolent in anything that they're doing. So like this whole movement is just like, is this the way that we really want to approach something that we, again, the whole thing we were saying at the beginning, we're all on the same page with 80%, 90% of things, but you want to really alienate your allies in these topics by using a kind of toxic rhetoric? Because for me, it's toxic. And for those of you listening that don't know, Unwhitewatch the Bad Batch is a movement on Twitter that's basically advocating for the appropriate or correct, or whatever, however you want to phrase it, representation of the clones on the Bad Batch, because they have been, quote unquote, whitewashed based on Temuera Morrison's appearance. And if for those living under a rock, Temuera Morrison is a Maori man, you know, he's a dark man with Maori features. And as you know, Maori features are not Western European white features. And so the claim is that the show has been kind of changing those features to be more appealing towards a Eurocentric crowd. I don't 100% disagree with what they're saying, but I also disagree with their approach. So maybe that's why the whole Bad Season 2 thing has been tainted. So before going back into whole the positivity of everything, I would have been remiss, right, if I didn't mention it, because it's a conversation, especially as a podcast of color, right, and a podcast that has been advocating for these things. I think it would be hypocritical, right, not to talk about it. So I just want to talk about it a little bit. I don't know, Rayven, if you have any thoughts that you want to share with us before we can.
I have lots of thoughts. Number one,
Please.
there's nothing wrong with Tamara Morrison's face. He's gorgeous, and everybody should look like him. Let's start with that.
Yeah,
Secondly, it's kind of a strange topic for me because I have a very middle of the road kind of view on racism. Being biracial, I have experienced things in a way that someone darker skinned than me, no matter where that comes from, would deal with something maybe different. But see, I was raised to believe that if there was a room and there were no people that looked like me, that didn't mean that they didn't like people like me. It just meant that I hadn't gotten there yet. That was how I was raised to believe. I was raised to believe that me being the only person in the room like me was A, the way life was going to be, and B, it wasn't on purpose. It just so happens that this is how it is. And so for me, I bring that experience to these arguments because it's like saying, Friends was racist because there were no Black people. And it's just like, or all of the people who were writing for it were white, whose friends were all white. And I know that it seems as though that's a choice, but it isn't always a choice. Growing up, I didn't even go to school with anybody of color besides myself until I was in 9th grade. So like all of my friends, guess what? White. And it wasn't because I chose to be friends with them. It's because they were who was around. They were who I had things in common with. Having said that, however, I can tell you every single music video I saw in the 80s where a white artist had Black people in the video that weren't, stereotypical positions of, maid, driver, so on and so forth. It's like, do you have Black people in your, in amongst the dancers? I'm so there for it. I remember, Bono hugging that girl in Vegas and thinking, so he would hug me, so Bono's okay. So representation does matter.
Yes.
I didn't grow up feeling that Bono wouldn't like me, but that mattered to me just the same, if that makes sense. But, like you said, you don't want to invalidate how other people feel, but here's my thing. The problem with racism is when they decide not to hire somebody because they're darker skinned or, whatever the reason is they don't like them. When we throw a fit about a cartoon character who, by a number of different things, needs to be a certain way to get everyone's attention. It's not just for you. We have to be understanding of where we need to fight those battles, where we need to pick up that, that stone and throw it, and where we need to just accept that some things are the way they are, and you can turn them into something nefarious, but they aren't always. Consider the intent of things. Again, consider the intent. Science tells us humans like symmetrical faces. So they make everybody on TV look like they have a symmetrical face, something that almost no one actually has.
Yeah.
And as much as that might be upsetting for people, there it is. And also, just for the record, the Bad Batch are running around in the dark a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I used to work in the clubs, man. I had to wear a lot more makeup in there than I do, if I was to wear it out in the real world, because it's dark. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but they're making an animated series. Things have to be the same from here to here. They can't go changing these things because somebody will notice. And so I think it's good to not just discount what people say, but I think that before anybody brings up an argument about representation or, and again, this is racism, sexuality, gender, anything.
Right.
Before you bring up a problem with it, consider the intent of what you're complaining about. Was the character black in the movie and now or the book and now they're white in the movie? I can see a bigger argument there, like, okay, what happened here? But this to me just seems like we're fighting the wrong fight.
Right.
There
It's
are
like,
places
oh, we don't have
could
anything
fight
to,
harder.
right.
Yeah.
It's like we don't have anything else to complain about. And not to, keep, beating a dead horse here. But it's also the fact that they're not including other people of color and podcasts of color into the conversation. It's just like, why be this, anonymous people, instead of being out and vocal about it and being like,
and
this
that's
is a
where it has to
coalition
change.
of fans of color who are saying this. If you do that, then I'm just like, oh, well, here we go. Then I want to listen to you because I see you, I see you and I see what you're saying, instead of like these, keyboard warriors who I have no idea who you are.
Well, everybody gets real brave when no one can see them.
Of course.
True.
That's easy.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's again, and it's a thing where we don't want to discount, right? The argument is, I think there is validity in the argument. I just think that again, another thing that I think is peculiar is like, then why aren't you? For me, beyond that, it's also, why aren't we talking about we're gonna talk about the skin color of the animated clones, who are still obviously inherently meant to be 10, so they are still inherently meant to be of Maori, inspiration. But we're not gonna talk that they're played by a white guy. That battle, you're not gonna, if you're gonna go all in on white watch the Bad Batch battle, you gotta call D. Bradley Baker out. I'm sorry, like, I love the man, he's a wonderful voice actor, but if you're gonna fight like the way they're fighting, take your gloves off. Why aren't you picking that fight?
Darth Vader is white and voiced by a black man.
Yeah.
That one's okay.
I mean, just, it's okay when it's that way, but it's not okay when it's that way.
Other way.
Well,
yeah.
Right.
I just an FYI, folks, that's not equality. Equality means same you, same me, not I get special treatment, you get,
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, not fighting the good fight on either side of that, but just simply bringing up the point once again, intent. Why did George cast James Earl Jones? Not because he was black or because he wasn't. He had the voice for the character. Why did he, hire David Prowse? He had the physicality for the character. I swear, I just don't believe that George ever even considered for a single second what color either one of them was. Again, character, you weren't going to see his face anyway.
Right. 100% agree. And George, God bless him. He's a liberal. He's on the left. He's a crazy liberal, but sometimes he made some questionable choices too.
But again,
white men gonna white.
Intent.
Yeah,
Right,
and nobody's
exactly.
ever gonna be completely perfect. I mean, it's
No.
hard to navigate. So you try your best.
Yeah.
And you can never make everybody happy because everybody has different experiences.
Especially in Star Wars.
Yes.
You're never gonna make everybody happy.
From most, from some biracial people. I have a very similar experience with others. Everybody's different. Everybody grew up in a different world, different parents, different part of the country. We need to, it's not so much about who's right and who's wrong. It's the fact that we need to be able to listen to each other. And even if we completely disagree, to say, I see where you're coming from and I see the validity of what you're saying from where you're at. So, even though I don't agree with you, I understand where you're coming from, and it makes it easier for me to understand why you don't agree with me. And if we could do a little bit more of that, listening and accepting ideas that don't match our own, and accepting that people can have ideas that don't match our own, we would all be a lot better. I mean, seriously, do you not have people in your family with whom you disagree about very fundamental things?
Yep.
Like, and friends, like your whole life, you have people that you disagree with, but you don't talk about those things, right? We don't talk about politics, religion, and our romantic life. We talk about everything else. Well, guess what? Try that next time.
Right. I think those are the two things that are like missing. Is well, one, we're missing compassion, and then two, one thing we should kind of jettison is certainty, because I think and I'm gonna include myself there because we all do it, right?
We're all
sometimes
there.
sometimes we just talk about things in a certain way, you know, and I don't mean certain like in a kind of way. It's like we're certain about what we're saying instead of kind of taking the L. Sometimes I mean like, well, this is what I think. I'm not certain about it, but I still think this. Now we lose a little bit of our certainty and increased our compassion a little bit. I think our discourse
Understanding
would improve,
Just
not just in Star
Only
Wars, but with everything.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes. And the smartest words you're ever going to hear, the smartest words you're ever going to say are, you know what? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't have an opinion on that because I don't know. You know, this is what I think from what I've heard, but I don't really know.
That's as far as I go.
Yeah,
people
but
are
I'm willing to change my mind. I'm
I
willing to
don't
learn.
know.
Right.
Yeah, listen to people, and you know, there's nothing more beautiful than understanding where someone is coming from, even if you disagree. It just makes it so much more palatable when you understand they're coming from a, you know, a different place, a different experience, and all of them are valid. All of them are valid, and just take them in. And the more you know, I mean, seriously, Little Rainbow. The more you know.
I mean, and that's a fantastic seg back into Bad Batch, because we had a beautiful moment. We had a beautiful moment of that, right? When not to skip to the second episode, but in the second episode when Nani, help me out. Who's his name? Separatist.
Roman was the
not Separatist.
Oh yeah, the
I was gonna call him Namor, but Namor is from.
No, he was like Romar.
No, that's the wrong one.
I think
something. I don't remember.
It was Romar. Yeah, it was Romar. Voiced by Hector Elizondo. So hey,
Nani, why don't you tell everybody?
I recognized his voice. Dang it! I knew I recognized him.
Nani, tell everybody who he is, please.
Yes.
It was driving me crazy the whole entire episode, so I had to look it up. I was like, who is it? Why does he sound so familiar? So it's Hector Elizondo. He's from, you know, Puerto Rican and Basque backgrounds, and he's been around for forever. And for me, he will always be the hotel manager from Pretty Woman. But yes. But he was also like in The Princess Diary, so a lot of people recognize him from there. So he's just this amazing actor who's been in a bunch of stuff, and to hear him voicing wonderful this character in wonderful voice and this amazing character, because one of the things I love is when you show the Separatists in a different light. It's like we were here before the war. You understand that, right? Like we were here before, and the Separatists were tricked by Dooku, just like everybody else was tricked by the Emperor and everybody else. So, you know, the Separatists just by themselves does not equal bad guy. So, and it's nice to see the approach of, you know, the Bad Batch, like trying to help people out and then getting help in return because of that. So I will hope to see more of that as they continue to travel the galaxy and slowly start to build allies just for being themselves and trying to help out. And the lessons that he gives to Omega, you know, when he gives her the kaleidoscope, it's like, it's just glass, it's not jewels. It just brings you joy, which is way more important than anything else. So it was really, really great. And the fact that he was so appreciative that the history of his people was brought back by Tech when he fixes the files. And I mean, it was so crazy, you know, to have these first two episodes at Dooku's palace when we learned so much from Dooku from Tales of the Jedi, and then coming back and seeing, you know, the glass cracked and you, like kind of the whole thing breaking apart, the entire city destroyed. And it, you know, it just goes to show how Palpatine gives zero crap about looting his own people. People that, you know, like were on his side, and he destroyed that city and just appropriated everything that Dooku had taken, you know, in his name. It's just, there's a lot going on in just two episodes. So,
but I think that's the tragedy. I mean, the tragedy of Dooku, but the brilliance of like these two episodes in making them in Sereno and making them in Dooku's palace, or whatever you want to call it. Is especially having seen Tales of the Jedi right before this, it's just like the Dooku tragedy, right? Because in the Dooku episodes, we see that he wants to fight the corruption in the Republic. So he's pure of heart, right? And during those episodes, and he comes at all these causes from a genuine place, right? He actually wants to see change. He wants to make that change happen. But it was all corrupted. If you take the dark path, forever will dominate your destiny. And his legacy now isn't the benevolent Jedi who trained Qui-Gon, who wanted to rid the Republic of corruption. Is the corrupt leader of the Separatists who destroyed his home world, which is a tragedy, man. To kind of see someone from the light become the thing that he wanted to destroy. It's very poignant, especially when we look at it from the lens of Andor Tales of the Jedi, kind of see the result of that, right? In these episodes, it's horrible, especially because we're not seeing it just in his castle. We're seeing it from, boots on the ground, from Hector Elizondo there, preaching to us, and again, reframing it now to shift back into how the Bat Batch have evolved. Because I remember in season 1, they didn't even want to go to Raxus Prime because that's where the Separatist capital was. And now they're fine going to Sereno, and now they're open to learning and being different and seeing things from a different perspective.
We're done with hiding anyway.
Right. I don't think the tech from season 1 would have been as easy to change his mind about, like, oh, I didn't think of it that way when he says that, we were here before the Separatists. I think that tech from season 1 wouldn't have accepted it that quickly, but to see tech be like, oh, yeah, I'm on board, and like, let's help you, and like, let me help restore the history of your people, was a very touching moment. So like, I'm coming around.
Yeah.
The positivity is coming in.
We're doing a good job here, Rayven.
You're doing it. Yes.
Yes. Well, I think it's important, though. I think one of the things that we saw in these episodes is that willingness to, listen to what someone else has to say and what they bring to the table, which is exactly what I was talking about. If you don't know, the best thing to do is to learn more. And the more points of view you have, the better chance you have of making the right decision for the great majority. And also, I would point out that, specifically in Andor, because, wow, that's hitting close to home these days, but all of Star Wars has always been deeper than that. It's about the reality that no person is perfect. Everyone is flawed. Everyone makes mistakes and they fight their battles. Our greatest heroes have ugly, ugly skeletons in their closets. And
Very
people
true.
that we would be happily burning in effigy have done some really wonderful, important, and useful things. We have to remember that just like us, everybody, real world and imagined, is human, in the sense of they make mistakes. They're not perfect. And we have to accept that from our characters. We have to learn it from our characters. I mean, the teachable moment today of Omega saying, I heard what you said about, me being here and how, you can do more and blah, blah, blah. And him explaining to her that, yeah, but no. And instead of just expecting her to understand it from the more adult point of view, where he was, he's delivering it as an adult, even if he is younger than her technically. But from that more adult point of view, because one of the biggest, failings of humanity is the fact that we treat children like they're morons. And they can't understand anything. It's like, but here he is talking to her in plain language that even a child can understand. That, he's saying these are the costs, and sometimes the costs are worth paying. That's all there is to it. Even if there are costs, and even if there are times when those costs make us want to throw things, it's still worth paying. And so I thought it was such a great teachable moment, particularly for Star Wars fans like myself, who are of the age of having, kids that are in that more rebellious stage. I'm not that stupid. I don't have kids. But for those of you who are breeding, but it's a great teachable moment. Don't treat children like they're morons. They're not. They're so much more intuitive and capable than they get credit for. And I just really felt like in this episode, it was a perfect lesson, to parents out there. When your children ask you an uncomfortable question, when they confront you with something uncomfortable, don't lie. Don't try to come up with a fairy story that works. Just tell them like it is. Life's not fair. Sorry, it's not. And sometimes things suck. But again, I do want to say they need to get Omega under control, because when I say stay in here and don't go down to the crate, you need to stay in here.
That's very precariously positioned, and we're getting patrols, and
you're endangering everyone else with your attempt to help everyone else, which is not realistic, because Pumpkin. I mean, I want to be able to move the car by myself too, but I hook up the dog because it's the smart way to do it.
Exactly. However, but if she hadn't done that, we wouldn't have gotten which is the moment that actually made me smile, even though it's kind of a technically a terrible moment. But when we have the in the Last Crusade callback, and
Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Let it go.
And he's like, no,
Yeah.
it's like Indiana, let it. I'm just like, call her Indiana.
Yes,
Like, no, she's
I
like,
know.
I was just like, okay. I'm very excited for Indiana Jones 5, as you can tell. So every time there's
I
an
just watched
indie reference, I'm
Last
just like,
Crusade.
come on, let's go. It's my favorite indie, Last Crusade. So when I saw that moment, it's like that's
A beautiful
that was
callback.
intentional. Yeah.
That is beautiful, but I mean, I just want to say completely offside, has nothing to do with Star Wars. Whatever you think about Sean Connery, in that movie, he is so good
Yes.
because in that
Yes.
moment, you know,
Yeah.
the let it go, Indiana, let
Yeah.
it go. And you're just like,
Yes,
every
100%,
time, you know
yeah.
what
Every
he's gonna
time.
say, you know what's gonna happen, and you're just bawling. You're like,
It's just the buildup is so good. Calling him Junior the whole time, even though he knows he hate him. But in that moment, Indiana.
Indiana.
Let it go.
Mhm.
Especially because that's the thing that he he devoted his whole life to.
To
And
finding,
he's the
yeah.
one being like,
Mhm.
hey man, it's right there, but like you,
Mhm.
I realized it, man. You're it. That's the treasure. You're the treasure.
There are things more valuable.
And then
than-
in Indiana Jones 4, knowledge was their treasure. But whatever. I'm not gonna go
Whatever.
into
But
Kingdom of the Crystal
imagine,
Skull.
imagine for somebody, you know, who's had difficulty with identifying,
Mhm.
being identified, people who insist upon calling them something that they don't identify as.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, here's where, you know, you can learn something from a movie so flippin' old. And let's be honest, Sean Connery is, you know, the old misogynist, you know,
Very much
original.
so. Yep.
Yeah.
But there in that moment, he
Moment,
was
yep.
showing exactly what you can be doing for your friends, you know, who have those identity issues, to understand that at this moment, you need to accept that this is who they believe they are, not who you call them, but
Yep.
who they are. And they
Right.
are going to react to you completely differently when you show respect for who they actually are. So again, movies can teach us real life lessons. Watch
Mhm.
Last Crusade, people. If you haven't watched it in a while, watch it
Watch it
again.
again.
It's the best Indiana Jones movie. I'm sorry, all you.
Indiana Jones movie.
I'm sorry, all you Temple of Doom haters, but you
Yeah.
are absolutely wrong. Temple of Doom is the worst one.
Oh, it's the
Sorry.
worst one. It's the
That's
worst.
my
I mean,
take.
I
Sorry.
love
Yeah.
me short round, but otherwise, get me out of there.
Oh yeah. He's exempt, but
He's
it's the
exempt.
worst one.
Yeah.
I'll take Kingdom of the Crystal Skull over Temple of Doom, but
Oh, I don't know.
I
we'll
don't
talk
know.
about that.
I don't know.
That's my hot take. That's my hot take of the episode, and
You know
I'm
what?
not gonna get
Temple
into it.
Crystal Skull was saved by Marion.
Yes,
Marion. Yeah.
There's lots of bad things about the Crystal
But
Skull.
yeah,
and
getting
the
there
Marion
are
first
back
one.
so
was
many
fantastic.
bad things.
And I'll be the
Yeah.
first one to admit it. But Temple of
There
Doom
were
is
some
just as
fun
bad.
moments too. Everything
Yeah.
doesn't have to be serious. Everything doesn't have to be
Mhm.
deep. You know, I mean, seriously, I watched Bullet Train this morning. Okay, it doesn't have
It's
to be serious
dumb
or
and
deep.
fun,
It can
yeah.
just be fun.
It's a very dumb, fun movie.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed Bullet Train.
did
Bad
too.
Bunny's in it, so it's fine. Nani, you should watch it. You should watch it. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah,
I haven't watched it
was-
yet. I probably will, but it's okay.
Watch it like at 10 in the
was fun.
morning, when you wake up. Okay.
I have to catch
I
up with
really
his
don't.
Dark Materials, which I watched in like 2 days.
Mm.
So
Oh, I need to. Yeah, I watched
yeah,
the first
that last
one.
season was the
That's
best one.
season
It was
three.
good.
I saw the first
enjoy-
episode. I need to finish season 3. Yeah.
I enjoy Brad Pitt when he's being funny, like actually funny, not
Like,
like
in Snatch.
unintentionally funny. I like him when he's being
Yeah.
funny because
Right.
somehow
hilarious,
he's hilarious, and it's like you want to not take him seriously, but he's hilarious, and it works when he's
On
being a
purpose funny.
doofus. Yeah,
He
when
was-
he's
I-
being on purpose funny, it's hilarious.
I just saw Babylon. I know it's getting bad reviews, but I really loved it. And he was
Oh, really?
fantastic in that too.
I haven't seen that one yet.
I'm
haven't seen
gonna
it.
warn you, the movie goes in a direction that you don't expect. But in the parts that we see in the trailers, which is where most of Brad Pitt's performance is, he's hilarious. He's wonderful. So I definitely recommend it. If you're into
If
like
he ever
older-
makes a bad movie, I just go back and watch Troy again.
Troy, we'll talk about another separate episode because we're gonna keep it positive.
Hey,
I'm gonna say
I'm
that.
incredibly positive about Troy.
He looks wonderful in that movie.
Thank you.
I'll give you that.
That's
Yeah.
the only reason to watch it. Do I turn
Yeah.
the sound on? No.
Yeah, I know.
Just putting it out there, just in case.
I will argue that he looks better in Fight Club, but that
that's different.
No.
That's different.
But remember,
'Cause he's a literal god, right?
I'm the age where when I was in high school, Legends of the Fall. So I'm
Legends of the Fall, of course.
I'm always going to be looking for the more Tristanish version of
with the
him,
long hair and the blonde. Yeah.
It's like if
Meet
you're
Joe
gonna get
Black.
a clean cut, get him out of here. I'm like, nah.
Meet Joe Black.
I'm an 80s rock girl. Like my favorite band is Def Leppard. Don't come in here with a crew cut. Don't. No, your hair's got to be at least as long as mine. Get out of here.
I see.
I'm sorry, I drove the train right off the track.
I'll send
Brad
Pitt. I'll send Brad Pitt the notes, just in case, especially for when they cast him. Hopefully, like in a High Republic movie, so he can have a Jedi Master with long hair.
Hey, I am ready for somebody in a Star Wars movie to be a hunk and be my age. And since Brad is just a little bit older than me, I'm like, let's go.
Let's make it happen.
Because I've already given you in the past because I don't want to hurt him.
Well, then I think this High Republic fan cast needs to happen then.
I'm there for it.
Otherwise, Lucasfilm is doing you dirty, and we don't want that. We want you and the fandom to be happy. And right now, I feel like there's some dissatisfaction with whatever Lucasfilm is doing.
Haven't we seen some casting that maybe if you had seen it on paper wouldn't have worked as well, but then when you see it, you're like, oh no, this is good. This is really good, because I've run into a few people where I'm like, what are you doing in Star Wars, Bill Burr? And I'm watching him do this whole thing, this whole post-traumatic stress, moment, and I'm like,
right.
Somebody get this man an Oscar. What, why is he telling jokes? Because he should be doing this. So I say, let everybody have a turn in the Star Wars universe and see what sticks.
See what works. Yeah.
I don't disagree with that. So we'll send some headshots and everything to the folks at Lucasfilm, so we can get the ball. At least we can do either on Disney Plus or YouTube some shorts at least, so that we can get as many people as possible to do their performance before because I think committing to a full movie, we're gonna limit how many people can exercise their acting chops, so that we can approve or not, and then do some Twitter polls or something so that the fans can choose who they want in their next Star Wars.
Most people are Star Wars fans. I mean, legitimately, most people. I can't think of very many people who won't be, wouldn't go I'll be a part of it. Why not?
Hey, I'll be a part of it for free. For free.
I'll be a stormtrooper. I don't care. I'll be an Imperial Guard. You don't have to see my face. You don't have to
I'll be a gonk droid. I'll be a trash can.
I do not care. Put me in it wherever.
I'm like, there's a trash can right there. It's like, oh, we don't need someone to commandeer a trash can. I'm going in it. So
I'm there.
I know I was inside the trash. It's fine. It's fine. Bad Batch, however,
we went right off the rails there.
That's a thing. That's a thing that is happening.
I do that though. I kind of
No, we love that though.
No, we love
that. We love that. It's all good.
It makes us seem like we're fun. So please continue.
Oh.
Because otherwise we're just like, well, let's deconstruct this into the pieces.
There's a lot to be said for deconstructing things. You can find out some really deep and meaningful things about characters that you didn't take seriously by deconstructing small things.
And that scene with Tech actually proves that point. And another character that I thought was done dirty in season 1, that's actually getting something to do finally. Well, we'll see in the rest of the season, but it's Tech. I mean, Echo. Sorry,
Echo.
Echo finally, putting his foot down and being like, "No, Hunter, we're doing something else," and actually having very important emotional beats, not just with Hunter, but with Omega. I think was very important, because I think those two characters sometimes were kind of pushed off to the side on season 1. So right now, obviously this is just 2 episodes. So maybe in the next 12 episodes, they'll be put back in the trash bin. but at least for now, it seems like they're
There seems to be some progress. I mean, and
there
there's
should be some spotlight.
it's more about democracy between them, and it's not just Hunter like bossing them around anymore. It's like, oh, we agree that this is what we should be doing. Let's talk about it. Let's make a plan together. So they're evolving more into a family other than just like a military unit. So
do we think that Hunter? Sorry, I know we're gonna talk about Echo. Sorry, Echo. You said Hunter, and I need to ask this question before I forget.
I know how that goes.
Do we think that Hunter isn't? It's just Rex, right? Or do we think more? Do we think that he's better than Rex? As for me, Hunter is just he's just a glorified Rex. Debate.
Debate.
I don't have an opinion on this one. I'm not well enough versed in the characters to have that kind of an opinion. And honestly, when I first started watching Bad Batch, I mean, that's literally like my first experience with them for the most part. And the fact that Sid calls him dark and broody is like legitimately the only opinion about him I have, is continue to call him dark and broody. I mean, it fits, and I love it.
Definitely fits.
I mean it in a loving way. But to me, he is absolutely Hannibal Smith, and that makes him both interesting and at the same time very typical, very kind of thing. But I do like the fact that he's a character that, that lives in that macho, tough guy, dark and broody thing, but yet he's not at all. That he's got a, mega sized soft spot and makes no attempt to hide it on any level. I mean, he's tough, but a little hard on his sleeve just the same, which I think is really, really cool. But like beyond that, I don't have an opinion. He's just dark and broody to me, which I just find hilarious.
I know, it's great.
Maybe it's Rhea Perlman, but I find it hilarious. I'm dark and broody here.
Nani, how about you?
I don't think Rex would have been as overprotective as he is being, or as short-sighted because of that, because Rex respected Ahsoka, who was just as young or maybe younger than Omega when he first met Ahsoka. So
maybe.
So I don't think he would be as, I mean, he would worry about her obviously, but I don't think he would have such a tight leash as Hunter has right now. I think he's going to slowly start to loosen up as the season goes on, hopefully, because he needs to start acknowledging our girl. But he's a little short-sighted on that sometimes. It's like you were saying at the beginning, Rayven. It's like, if you want her to be away from danger, then leave her at home. If you want to bring her with you, then you have to train her correctly and make her know and understand her limits and know where she can help and where she can't.
But we know she's not going to stay home. She's going to hide inside the ship. She's going to join the battle. So that's, he's got to accept that she's already.
He needs a little bit of discipline. Yeah. She needs discipline as well.
She's too headstrong.
Again, I don't have children. Just want to clarify that for the record. Leashes, muzzles, kennels, people.
Maybe it's metaphorical.
Maybe
it's not literal.
It's
have to
totally
make the
metaphor.
Just have to put the fine print just in case.
Just in case. It's a metaphor. I was only kidding.
Claro, sí, of course.
We were talking about the fur babies.
Right.
Those can get
right.
Oh well, I have lots of those. So
yeah.
And I don't put leashes or kennels on any of them. So.
Because they know what's up.
Yeah. Well, the Siamese doesn't know what's up.
No. It's
No.
because he's a Disney villain, that's why.
He is a Disney villain. That song was telling you the truth. It was telling you the absolute 100. You guys saw. Just scratch on the thing because it's there.
It's just cats. I never understood.
It's not just cats. I have another one. She doesn't do that.
Really? Oh, well, I don't know.
The gray tabby doesn't do that. Siamese, anybody who owns one is sitting at home nodding their head right now because they know the Siamese is not like a normal cat. It's a completely different animal. It's
they're curious. Come on. They just want to find out.
No, evil. They will look at you while they do something they're not supposed to do and go,
do it slowly.
Are you doing this?
Well, at least let's try to at least they're keeping you entertained. At least it's not boring.
My cat is named Arsène Lupin, and anybody who's familiar with the character knows exactly why he has that name. He's the gentleman burglar, master of disguise, evil little booger.
That's fine. It's fine.
Her name is
Well,
Shadowcat.
freaking-
She's sweet.
That's a cool name, actually.
Yeah.
I appreciate that name.
Everybody is named after comic book characters. Shadowcat, Arsène Lupin. Well, it's not comic book, but it's a book character. My Malamute is Mystique. We call her Misty, but she's Mystique.
That's
And
a
then we
good
had
strategy.
Stormtrooper, Razor Fist, Kato. Everybody's named after somebody of some sort of nerd importance at the very least.
I love that
Generally,
nerd
books are comic
importance.
books.
I like
Yeah.
that strategy. I like that because people have
Yeah.
been naming their pets over like the same boring names for centuries. It's
Mhm.
time to stop.
Yeah.
I like the comic book naming. We'll sign this petition.
Yeah, we had to look up names to come up with new ones at one point. When we had the Black German Shepherd, we're like, well, we could name you Vader, but that would be so obvious. So we found a Spider-Man bad guy, Razor Fist, and Razor was
That's
his
a good
name.
one. And you also have like all the Knights of Ren losers that no one knows the names. So you can just
Yeah.
find like all
You can
of
just
those
pick
guys.
whatever works.
Yeah.
Whatever works.
I looked up their names once upon a time, and they were all like bad heavy metal band names, like for all the
Like
Knights of
Raven?
Rens. No, I'm talking about the Knights of Ren. Come on. I'm not gonna do that like here. So
Hey, listen, I picked a name that fit me better than the one my parents gave me, which means white wave. Yeah, everybody's just nodding their head going, what were they thinking?
sometimes they just mean the best, but sometimes
Yeah,
you
but
do
they
know
were-
best, yes.
They were there, and I feel like you could have gone with just
anything.
Else.
anything that
Anything else.
isn't defined as fair one or white wave. Like just doesn't fit, you know?
It-
yeah.
it-
Come on, admit it.
I'm gonna
admit it.
say
It
it
doesn't
happens,
fit.
but
Está fuerte. Yeah, it's
but
That's horrible.
no,
it's a
fatal.
hey, it's a story. It's a story to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom's crazy. That's all I have to say about that.
Maybe it's better than boring. Maybe I don't know.
It's really not. She has 4 daughters. I'm the only one with that kind of a crappy, horrible name. Everybody else has a fun, girly name.
Maybe she loves you the best. There we go.
Well, she definitely doesn't love me the best. I'm the oldest. She hates that.
That's true.
Oh,
That's true.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true.
The oldest
sorry,
is the
I'm sorry
worst.
that- I'm
Yeah.
sorry
Oh,
that
yeah.
Oldest
you
right
know.
here. It's the worst. They hate us.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
for
because
sure.
every time you have a birthday, they're like, "I just got older." It's like, I'm
Right.
sorry, dude.
Like it's our fault that
Yeah.
they got older.
like I had anything to do with that. I just remember you were 22 when you had me.
It always
You know,
blows
she's
my
like,
mind
"Is
when
that-
Nani says that you're the older. Because you say you're the older, but I know that, but I still think you're the middle child. I don't know why.
Me
Yeah, you.
still.
Yes, I know it's been decades, but I still think you're
No.
the middle child.
My
even
mom
though
was
I
still-
know you're the
Yeah.
oldest child.
No, my mom was like kind of secretly super pissed that because she had me when she was 25. So when I turned 25, she turned 50. So she's like,
Yeah.
really? 50?
Mhm.
I was like,
Mhm.
dude, don't ruin my 25th birthday because you turned 50.
My mother ignored my phone call today, and I know she's going to ignore it for the next 4 days because in 4 days I'll turn 46, and she just doesn't want to even hear about it. She's
About
like,
it,
I
yeah,
don't
at
even
all.
know you this month. Like, okay, fine. Although I will say I don't get the mixture of people not knowing. My sister's the eldest is 5 years younger than me, so I'm like way older than everybody because there's like 5 years, 7 years, 8 years, or no,
Oh,
5 years,
wow.
7 years, 9 years.
Those are
younger than me.
gaps.
Yeah,
those are
so
gaps.
like
yeah.
I'm way older than my sisters, whereas they're fairly close-ish, 2 years apart each, but
Yeah.
not
So
me.
you're definitely the bad guy, of course.
I'm Maleficent.
But at least you dominate
Really?
them, which is more important.
Oh, but Maleficent is
course
awesome,
I
so
do.
that's okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah.
reason why I got tagged with that when I was like 9. Because my sisters all thought I was like the worst ever bossy telling them what to do. And it's like, well,
Jokes on them,
by
because that's a
nature,
badass
that's
name.
my job. Elder siblings, you hear me talking, you know.
They know
It's all
what's up.
true.
They know what's up. Speaking of older siblings, though, Omega, which is the oldest sibling, right, of the Bad Batch, let go of the treasure, right? So like now we're in a place where they couldn't fulfill the mission. Now we're expectant on episode 3 of 14 episodes. So before we kind of wrap everything up with a nice bow, I always like to do some responsible speculation, as we've trademarked. Well, we haven't trademarked it, but that's what we always say. It's responsible speculation, because we don't want to, get in love with our own ideas, even though they're probably worse than what the actual creators have in store for us for the coming episodes. Hope, right? So, Rayven, before we get to speculation for the rest of the season, episode 3, any final thoughts on this duology of episodes?
Biggest thought is, this is a perfect opportunity to take real life lessons from Star Wars. Talk, be open. This is my issue. This is where I need help. This is, so on and so forth. And don't treat your kids like morons. I know I already said it, but it's something I think that needs to be said over and over again. Children are young. Yeah, they're young and inexperienced, but not stupid. And they learn from everything they see and hear around them. So take all of these dads and their best intentions and what they do wrong and learn from it and do better yourself. And that's not just for parents, it's for just humans you deal with in the world. Seriously, everybody be cool.
Yes. And moving forward to episode 3 and beyond, what do you hope to see? What do you expect to see? Any desires for Bad Batch season 2?
Not a one. And I look forward to seeing more blaster fire. That's what I'm expecting to see is more blaster fire, a little more armor here and there, and some droids. That's what I'm expecting to see. And I feel 100% confident I'm going to see all 3 of those things. I think
I talked to the folks at Lucasfilm and they told me that you will get your wish.
This is about the connections, baby. It's about
you will get your wish. And I can just guarantee that. Nani, how about you? Final thoughts on this duology and hopes and expectations for the rest of the season?
I don't really know what's going to happen this season. I am looking forward to them doing more than just like adventures of the week and actually start maybe going into helping out the situation with the Empire and everything. As Echo was trying to say, like there's more to life than just hiding. So I want to see where that takes them. I love the little details still. I love how they use stun against the clone troopers because they don't want to hurt their own.
But then he uses
I love that.
But then he repurposed the cannon and he's so happy with his baby cannon. Like, oh, my new toy.
Which was dope. Yeah, it was dope. But I'm just like, my dude.
And realistic.
I'm like, that's some cognitive
but it's so
Right
Wrecker. I mean, and it's so great to like, having seen him like repurpose old separatist tech into like his own awesome cannon. And I mean, I just every time I seen him, I want to yell like Wrecker, go wreck, so it's I love Wrecker, clearly. And I love that the Bad Batch themselves, like their outfits are way more colorful than they used to be, and every time they're even more individualized. And now Hunter has a scarf, which I mean, I love me some
Star Wars and scarves, man. Yeah.
So
we got some European dressing mixed in here. We got some good European dressing mixed in.
Well, I mean, Day 6 tips from Boba, because Boba rocks the scarf as well. So I mean, it all comes together.
Hey, don't forget Cobb Vanth. So. Well, he dropped that. He's matured and now he doesn't carry
my Unleashed still has it, so just saying.
Well, everyone's got to go through their own journey. Gotta take the good with the bad with the good, or vice versa. I don't know how the hell that goes.
So I'm just definitely looking forward to fun and some good messages here and there too, but just in general, just a fun ride with some characters that you're slowly fall in love with. And to see, we already know from the trailers we're gonna get Gungi, and to see how like all these characters come in. So
Gungi, yes,
I'm just looking forward to Wednesdays.
And
then we get Mando as well. So Star Wars.
And then who the hell knows what's going to happen? Yeah, it's going to be like, Bad Batch Mando. It's too much. Is there such a thing as too much Star Wars?
I don't know, but we'll find out. There's no such thing as too much. There's no such thing.
And if that is the problem, it's the best problem to have.
That's true.
Amen.
That is true.
That's a first That's a first galaxy problem.
Right. That's exactly how you know that you have no issues in your life whatsoever
Mhm,
when you just
mhm.
complain about there's too much Star Wars.
There's too much Star Wars. Yeah.
Yeah. How am I gonna cover all of it? It's like, well, one, this is not your job, so you don't have
Right,
to.
right.
So yeah, that's what I get to remind myself. Anyway, no, I agree. I'm looking forward to most, if not all of the things that you guys have mentioned already, especially Gungi or Gungi, as I used to call him before I realized that was just my accent picking through. Gungi and his beautiful green lightsaber, his beautiful Wookiee boy. I protect him. I don't want him to show up if you're gonna murder him. If
Hmm.
I'll murder someone on Lucasfilm. I'm not. No, that's a threat. It's not true. I will not be doing
Don't
that.
do that.
I'm just expressing my
Metaphorically.
I'm expressing my preemptive anger if something happens to my beautiful darling Wookiee boy.
Agreed.
But beyond that, I'm looking forward to having more conversations like this with more wonderful people that make me feel better about being down a little bit. Bad Batch season 2, which has been success. I feel much better. So thank you to both of you for elevating and cheering me up, and
Whoop, whoop.
having such a wonderful conversation. But before we wrap up, Rayven, where can people find you? What are you up to these days, so that our lovely audience can follow you and see what you've been doing or will do?
Well, you can find me on Broaxium, doing Shooting the Poodoo on Sunday nights, being everybody's favorite Star Wars auntie. I will happily yell at you and tell you what to do because I don't care. I'm not your mommy, but I can pretend to be whenever it suits me. Other than that, you can find me on Instagram. You will be forced to see many, many pictures of my cats, many, many pictures of my dog, and very few pictures of me because I'm a kind person. Other than that, I don't exist and pretend like you never heard of me.
So we
Words
shall
to
leave
live
links.
by.
Yeah, we'll leave links to those things so you can decide what to do with that information.
Exactly.
But with that, I think our first
Yeah.
episode of the year. Yeah, we didn't really take a break for the holidays because our
Bad Batch
galactic
started.
first world,
Yeah.
our first galactic problem or whatever we
First galaxy problems.
Thank you, first galaxy problem here. Not ruined, but just came in through our vacation time. So yeah.
Well,
Happy
and
New
the
Year to
holidays are
everybody.
still happening in Puerto Rico. We have the longest
Right. I still
holiday
have like
season
holiday,
in the world, so
holiday
we're not done
hangover here.
celebrating
Yeah.
yet.
Me neither. Still to go.
Perfect. So I think, yeah, that's it for today. Rayven, thank you so much for joining us. We had so much fun talking to you. It was great. We love going off the rails as well. I'm so excited that you're enjoying Bad Batch also, especially being not a huge animation fan. It speaks so highly that, it doesn't need to speak to you specifically, but you can still enjoy Star Wars in all its shapes and forms. So we are Triad of the Force. Yeah, this is our first episode of the year. We look forward to an excellent 2023. We think it's going to be a good one. We have some amazing shows coming up and we're going to talk about them all and then talk about other media nerd stuff and just do what we do. So until next time, just leave us a comment, like, subscribe, let us know what do you think of Bad Batch so far. May the Force be with you.